What's going on, everybody? This is afrothinktank. Today we're going to talk about African Americans and how we are, as a group of people, we are politically unaware, right? We're politically unaware, and because we're politically unaware, we tend to attach ourselves to fads and trends that don't have our best interests at hand, right? And let me explain what I mean. So, and also we have a short attention span. And keep in mind, African Americans are susceptible to the same tactics that other Americans are susceptible to, right? We fall for the exact same trick, and the exact same trick is being used against us, right? And so what I want to explain is how we're being tricked, and why is it why is it that I always make it a point to say, Republicans, Democrat, and I'm always harping real hard on the Republicans, and none of y'all guys see me really talk trash about the Democrats, but you don't see me pumping up the Democrats unless there's a Democrat that does something politically, policy-wise that I like. And if there's a Republican that does something politically or policy-wise that I like, I would support that too. But just so happens that there are no Republicans doing anything to benefit black people in this country. They're not campaigning for it either, but they are campaigning for certain group of black people's votes, in order to make their opposition weak, which is the Democrats, right? So the way politics really works is you have all the corporations that we work for and we purchase our goods and services for them, right? They have all the money. This is the 1%, the upper class. What they do is they all go to the same schools, they attend the same churches, they hang out in their own little bubbles, they live in the same gated communities. They take their children, all these rich people and all, they take their children and, they groom them into being politicians, right? So that they can go into politics and champion the legislation that would benefit their family and the corporations and their friends' corporations, right? That's why if you look at a lot of these politicians and you look at their families, right? Their families were either other politicians, or they were, or their family is a part of some massive corporation. They're billionaires and something like that, or some multimillionaire, right? You rarely find a politician that's just an average Joe that came from a regular working class neighborhood that made his way up. It's rare, very rare, right? Most politicians are the children of millionaires and billionaires and other former powerful politicians. They take their children, they send them to these exclusive schools, since they have all the tax money, because they've already, the place that they live in their gated communities, they've already siphoned off the money, the tax money from the surrounding communities of the peasants that they see them as, the insignificant individuals, subjects who are only useful when it comes time to vote for a politician. That's the only time they care and pander to you, when they want your vote. After that, you're just back to being a subject. You think you're a citizen, but you're really a subject, right? So they take all the tax money that you pay out your pocket, right? They siphon it through word salad legislation that you don't pay attention to because that's boring, right? Real legislation and policy that's written down in these back offices, you don't know anything about that. They don't talk about that. Now, both Democrats and Republicans, they have no problem passing along legislation that benefits the corporations, because the corporations own both the Democrats and the Republicans, right? Now, they allow the Democrats and the Republicans to fight in ideologies, because once you have a certain amount of money, ideologies don't matter. You see, the corporations have one ideology: money. They don't care about racism, classism, sexism, any ism. You know why? They're so rich. None of that affects them. None of that means anything in their world, because they've created another world for themselves. All that ism stuff, that's for the peasants. That's for the people down here, right? Hollywood makes movies that reference these type of things all the time, where you'll see the omnipotent at the top who don't, they have all the power and they're almost untouchable. And, us peasants on the earth, the destroyed earth, all the resources pulled to protect and uplift and give them a nice cushy life. How many movies have you seen where there's a cushy group of people, and like let's talk about One Piece. We black people, we like anime, right? One Piece, right? The Celestials. Notice how the Celestials, right? They are omnipotent. They're above. They're not good either way. They don't really care about the They don't really care about the Marines, or they don't care about the people on the planet, and they don't care about the pirates, unless it has something to do with them. Unless it takes away from their comfortability, takes away from their power and their money. That's when they come down and intervene in human affairs. But other than that, they stay as omnipotent, demigods in that world, right? The Celestials, right? So, and then if you watch One Piece, you actually when you see the Celestials, you see them, you recognize that as, oh, you guys are the bad guys. You guys are the ultimate evil. You guys are the ones pulling all the strings behind the scenes. So as human beings, we can always recognize who the bad guy is every time they are being, in a movie, because the movie shows you it. You see it's a linear line. You see blah blah blah. You see all the characters, right? But in the real world, we don't seem to pay attention to the real world the same way we pay attention to the entertainment that we watch. Well, we have our Celestials, our 1%, who tell us what to be offended about, right? They tell us what to be offended about, and then we take that, put it in our hearts, and we go out there and we battle. We battle in the minds, we battle in the streets, we battle for decades based off the bullet points that both these groups give us. Now, so the Celestials, what they do is, like fantasy football, I like to give references so you guys can understand what I mean. You know how to play fantasy football. Fantasy football is, instead of picking one team, you pick your best players, right? You pick the players that you think is going to do the specific thing that you want for your team to win, right? Everybody enjoys fantasy football. People who enjoy sports, they enjoy fantasy football. And fantasy football has gone into fantasy NHL, fantasy baseball, fantasy, everything fantasy, where you can just pick and choose your players from different teams. You put your own squad together, and then they will, from the positions that they are in, they will, take the action necessary for you to be successful. Either you're going to win or you're going to lose. It's gambling, right? So we understand that. But when it comes to the real world, we don't seem to see it, right? To where these Walmarts, Bank of Americas, JP Morgans, the children of the CEOs and all that stuff, who are now all of a sudden interested in politics, who you don't know, because these people don't make themselves famous. Real rich people are in the shadows, right? The only rich people that you see are the brash ones. The brash ones that need also recognition. They need recognition. They need their own likes and shares as part of their narcissistic personality. So you only see the narcissistic Celestials that come down every now and then when they just have to be seen, right? Like your Elon Musks, like your Amazon Jeff Bezos, like your Donald Trumps. You see, they're just 3 billionaires amongst many billionaires, but you don't know what most of the billionaires look like. Why? Because they stay in the shadows. They stay in their world. They stay in their celestial plane. They don't come down here. They just farm us politically to get what they want, because the Celestials are not all in cahoots. The Celestials, the 1%, they are battling amongst each other. The battle that they wage amongst each other is on a different level. Okay? When corporations battle, they start wars, whole wars. They destabilize countries when they battle. But we don't see that they're the ones starting the battle. Like, for instance, I'll give you a great example. Gun culture. America has an unusual gun culture compared to the rest of the world. We all believe that it's God gave us the right to have fully automatic, semi-automatic machine guns so that we can have the ability to kill as many people as we want. The Republicans, right, what they do is they push gun culture. The Democrats, they hush about gun culture. Why? They don't want to stop selling guns. They make money off the sale of guns. The Democrats, so the Democrats' job is to play, you got good cop, bad cop. We both understand good cop, bad cop. I'm going to keep doing these references. Good cop, bad cop. Good cop goes in there to a suspect, and tries to reason with him, tries to pander to him a little bit. Bad cop comes in there. He's unreasonable, hectic, mad, irrational. And then so the person that's sitting there that's being victimized or being interrogated, he has to choose between one or two. He has to choose between a good cop and a bad cop. I got to go one of these. They both cops. But one of these ways is easier than the other way. Usually they pick the good cop. But you didn't know that when they both left, both those good cops and bad cops, they plan that out in the back. Right? And then they come in there and they give you theater, right? Meaning they put on a play for you to get you to react a certain way. Same thing with politics. Democrats and Republicans come on TV and they give you political theater. Now, when I say I'm from Washington, D.C. and I work downtown, I literally see these same politicians that you guys see. I see them all the time. I work with them and for them in my job. I see them in real life when they're not on the camera, right? For years now, for decades, for over a decade. I've been seeing these same politicians that you guys see on TV. You think they're one way, but in actuality, in real life, they're not that way. They actually, all these politicians, these Democrats, Republicans that hate each other, they hang out in D.C. They hang out right across the street. I mean, from where I work at. They'll be there. They get drunk together. They go and get prostitutes together. They do all the debauchery that they like to pretend like they're better than. They do all that shit together off camera, right? And politicians, what they are the players, right? They're the players. And the reason why they're the players is because in order to be a politician, it takes lots of money, billions and billions of dollars sometimes, right? And so the Celestials, they get their fantasy football team together, which are the politicians, right? Each Celestial camp got their own agenda, i.e., let's talk about the NRA, right? The person that owns the NRA are one of the Celestials, right? His job, his way he makes his money is he sells guns. And selling guns to just Americans is not good enough. He needs to sell guns to everybody. America's the #1 arms dealer in the world. We sell guns to everybody, right? Let's talk about Central and South America for a second. So the Celestials, they need to be able to sell those guns to make money. It's about the grid. That's who they're, that's who they're loyal to. Is moneyism. So what they do is they sell a lot of American weapons to Central and South America. And the only way they're able to do that is because when you person-to-person sell with weapons in America, you don't have to register your guns. If you had to register your guns, it would be really hard to traffic American weapons overseas. It'll be really hard for cartels to come to America and purchase massive amount of guns and bring in their money, purchase massive amounts of guns, and send them to the Central and South America so they can conduct a war. It's bad for business. So they have to tell their politicians, hey, we're going to need you. And the Celestials give the politicians the legislation they want. They write that shit. They write it down themselves. It's not the politicians. Politicians, they remember it and regurgitate it. So the Republican will come on and say, yeah, gun rights. We deserve gun rights. God said in the Constitution and God, the Constitution, Constant God said that we supposed to have these semi-automatic machine guns. And I need to be able to sell this weapon of mass destruction without the government knowing about it. Government, stay out of my business. Stay out of my business. Government, stay out of my business. Right? So then you got people who believe that they need guns because everybody else got guns, because that's how you get guns in a community. You give one group guns, the other group says, oh, I need guns because they got guns. And then I need a bigger gun because they got guns. And that's how shit escalates, right? Same mode of operation is how they destroyed every group of people on this planet. You introduce that gun, it's like a drug, right? Having an overwhelming advantage in battle. I mean, come on, it's a given. So then you get the peasants, right? People like me and you, who believe in gun rights, right? Because we see the other people with the guns. And it's easy to say, well, the bad guys got the guns, so we need guns. Everybody should have guns, right? And then when a mass murder happens, right? Because that's what happens when there's a bunch of guns around. People who are mentally ill in an environment, right, that has no checks and balances, have access to a weapon of mass destruction. They'll pick that weapon of mass destruction and they will spill them into illness on a school to innocent people. You would think that'll be enough to get the people passionate enough to say, you know what, we should do something about certain guns because they're actually unpractical in this country, right? So what the Republicans would do, they would say, we're going to go on a campaign and we want all your pundits, tell all your pundits to immediately get online and start defending guns. So when children die of guns, the first things Republicans do is defend the gun. And they get on attack mode because they want to make sure that the sentiment of the people, the majority of the people, right, who wish we would do something about guns, something smart about guns, the majority of people get trounced with the loud noise of defending the gun. The Constitution, Second Amendment rights, right? And then you look at the Democrats, who they really don't care, just like the Republicans, because they're making money, because the Celestials are giving them money to say this, so they can keep that resemblance of power that they have, on Earth. They're down here, but they got power down here, right? Because their gods give them the power, which is the money, campaign contributions. So the Democrats, they just hush-hush about it. God damn it happened again. Let's be quiet. And that's what happens. They just hush-hush. They don't say anything. They figure, well, you know, time will pass. Let a couple weeks go by, they'll forget about it. And that's what happens because America has been built to have, we've been designed and programmed to have short attention spans, right? We get pissed off and then we calm down. That's how humans work. Very smart people has figured this out, right? This is science to this. There's political scientists who go to school to learn how to manipulate masses, you know, by, you know, politically, right? But you see us regular, we're not politically aware of none of this, right? So when the Democrat and the Republican both come online, the Democrats pretend like they care when they want to do something. The Republicans start defending the gun. That's called political theater. That's when they get on stage and they present us with a play. And they present that play as being their true feelings and being a reality. And we, as the peasants who observe, because we don't control the media, right? We watch the media. We consume the media. That's the one thing we consume. We sit there and we watch the political theater and we believe the political theater. We start taking sides based off the characters and their scripts, right? And then we start to fight and kill each other. And all the real world consequences happen down here based off the scripts that the politicians give, right? So, and then we believe that political theater. That's why you have a bunch of black people who actually think that Donald Trump is for them, which if they actually paid attention to the real world, Donald Trump has always been anti-black. Donald Trump does not care about black people. Donald Trump barely even cares about white people. He don't care about white people either. The Celestials don't care about white people. They don't care about white people. They're a tool. Racism, the idea of racism and poor white people is a tool to keep them distracted and stupid, right? And to keep us black people on our toes because we always got to deal with a population of idiots who want to kill us because they're afraid of us. So it keeps us distracted because we always got to battle these white people who are racist for no freaking reason. But if you watch the TV, you know, the thing we don't own, the thing we don't control that a certain group of people own, you see what theater they put on there to, you know, to coerce or persuade groups of people that other people are this way. The political theater. All your major news network that you consider news are entertainment networks. If you look up Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, these are news entertainment networks, not news networks. The difference between a news entertainment network and an actual news network is the same difference between WWE, ECW, that's fake wrestling, versus actually collegiate wrestling in the college and in the Olympics. That's real news, all right? Not as entertaining, so a lot of people don't watch regular collegiate wrestling. But they will watch WWE and WWF and watch fake moves, right? Watch the fake acting, and most of us for a long time was convinced that it was real. And some people to this day still are convinced that it's real. Because ever so often, because of the sports theater, that fake wrestling, WWE, wrestling, sports entertainment, because of the effect of political theater, every now and then somebody in the crowd assaults a wrestler because they are so invested on the theater because they believe that theater is real. Same thing in real life. Someone will go get a gun, a white boy will go get a gun, drive 10 miles and go shoot black people because the political theater of the Republican Party has told him that black people are dangerous. They're going to come and kill you in your neighborhoods and they're gonna take your daughters and it's over for you. You're done, right? So because that white guy was convinced by the political theater that he is under attack, he gets in a car, drives 10 miles because he had to go, 10 hours because he had to drive 10 hours to find enough black people because he don't have black people in his neighborhood. So he never meets one. He doesn't really have a relationship with any black people to even actually understand that all the stuff they're saying on TV is bullshit or is being hyperbolic, is being over exaggerated. So he drives 10 miles because it took him 10 hours to go find enough black people to fit the narrative that was forced into his head. And he kills people. So people die down here because of it. The Republican Party in the real world, right? Not political theater, in the real world. So when you watch C-SPAN, you watch local news, and you see what the Republicans are saying in their state legislators. Because all we do is pay attention. We just pay attention to the big stuff. We don't pay attention to the little stuff. And it's the little stuff that make all the changes. It's the politicians that are not famous that make all the changes. Not the ones that's famous that you see downtown Washington, D.C., the federal politicians, right? We're talking about the state politicians. So right now you're looking at the big leagues, right? Thinking that that's where everything's happening. But it's the little leagues that's making all the effects that we don't see because we don't pay attention to little stuff. Because in America, we like big stuff. If it's not important enough, we're not paying attention to it because we have to be entertained. If we're not entertained, we're not into it, right? So When Fox News and MSNBC and CNN put all these federal politicians in your face and they conduct their political theater, we eat it up. We take it as word, right? So while we're paying attention to that on the state level, which there are more state Republicans, there are more state Democrats, we see that the state Republicans in Republican-run states are actively trying to disenfranchise black people. It's not something I'm making up. This is not a hoorah, I'm just being biased towards the Democrats. No, Republicans are doing things called gerrymandering, redistricting, meaning when the black population grows to the point to where they deserve representation in the government, state government, what the white male politicians do is they redistrict the maps to make sure that those black people don't get their own congressman, don't get their own senator, so that black people in America do not get representation. That's what they actively doing, and they don't care if you find out, because most of these state politicians, they're not on national news, so there's no consequences for them making these moves. The only time we hear about it is when something so egregious happens, then it becomes international. I mean, it comes international news. It comes national news. Like in Tennessee, stuff like that's happening in Tennessee, where they're obviously going against the black guy. They're obviously trying to disenfranchise and discriminating and are being racist towards the black politician, because it's a white male-dominated political area, and they didn't have to ever deal with black people with power challenging them. Not something white people like, to be challenged by black people. The whole point of America is to keep us in our position, keep us in our place. So as black people continue to rise, the obvious consequence is to attack that thing, right, that they see as a threat. Like, that's happening all over America in state legislators that you're not hearing about. Republicans are actively disenfranchising black people. They're also actively within their political theater script coercing a civil war. They want a civil war because Republicans, they're all about white survival. You see, remember, the politicians now, they're damn near, they're just the children of celestials, or they're the ones that were given the golden ticket, the Willy Wonka golden ticket, to go to the chocolate factory. But if you want to stay in the chocolate factory, you got to follow the rules that the celestials tell you to do. It doesn't matter how mad the people get, the peasants. The peasants never mattered to the upper class. The peasants only matter when we need the peasants to do something, when we need to motivate them to go to war, when we need to gather and build an army to go fight somebody for their own personal egotistical reasons. They have to motivate them with some sort of patriotism, some sort of something to galvanize them and get them hyped up to go and kill other peasants on behalf of rich folks, right? It's the same thing, right? So the politicians themselves are already bought and sold, because in order to be a politician, it takes millions of dollars, right? And we, as peasants, we don't understand why is it that every time we vote for somebody, they say they're going to do this, they say they're going to do that, and then when they get in there, they don't do it. This goes for both Republicans and Democrats. So while you have all these weak black people that's falling for the Republicans who clearly hate them, they say, yeah, come in here so I can bag you up, tie you up, and separate you from your other black people. Because black people have political power in this country. Because we are a massive population. We're probably more than 55 million. Probably are. Because we're overly represented in the media. I don't even know if we can believe those numbers. We have so much potential power in this country that they make it their business to take our power away as we grow. But the problem is we are still gaining power. And with that being said, the Democrats is a party at which we've been able to gain our political power, not the Republican Party. Now, you got some people to say, well, we used to be Republicans. We were Republicans until we became Democrats. Just like conservatives used to be Democrats until they became Republicans. Now, let me explain this for the layman, all right, because that's one of the main talking points of black Republicans, that we used to be Republicans, so we should be Republicans now. They don't explain the difference between Republicans and conservatives. The conservative group of people, right? In the Republican Party, there used to be liberal Republicans, conservative Republicans, right? And centrist Republicans. The Democrats have liberal Democrats, conservative Democrats, and centrist Democrats, right? And each one of those groups have subgroups, different people with different ideological thinkings within one party that try to make decisions, because they kind of lean towards each other over here and they lean towards each other over here. The reason why the Democrats take so long, because they're all educated, right? No one likes to educate a population, because if you educate a population, you can't control the population. Because once they're in the know, once they understand, you can't make them do whatever, because they're going to ask you why. A poor unknowledgeable person is easily persuadable, because anything you tell them, they're going to believe, because they don't know, they don't understand their surroundings, right? So it behooves the Republicans to keep their constituents stupid. So if you look at the Midwest, look at where Republican-dominated states are. The places are dilapidated. The places are horrible places to live. The Republican Party, the people who've been under think about how stupid this is, right? The people who've been under Republican control for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, solid Republican states, the people in those states are suffering under harsh conditions, lack of schools, lack of business opportunities, lack of jobs, crazy student debt, drugs, murder, crime. And we're talking about these places are white. These are white places. These are European. Some of these places are almost 90% white. They don't encounter other people, but yet their crime rate is astronomical. Their murder rate is astronomical. Their drug rate and suicide rate is astronomical. Every politician that has power are Republicans, from the governor to the mayor to their politicians. They're totally controlled by Republicans for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, yet somehow they blame the Democrats. Right? Somehow they've been convinced it's the Democrats' fault. Think about it. Trick bag, right? But some of them are becoming aware of their situation, because the age of information has made it so the peasant has access to the same information that those politicians have, that the celestials have, right? Knowledge is power, and that's the truth, right? Knowledge is power, and numbers is power. So you have a bunch of people that got knowledge, that's the ultimate power, and it can defeat the celestials. We have plenty of movies that show that, right? There are people who put that in allegories in movies, and because it's entertaining, we pay for it, right? Democrats. You have people who live in democratic states, democratic, everything's Democrat. Governor, mayor, politicians, everything's been run 30, 40, 50 years. Same conditions. And we're complaining about those very same conditions, right? But the one thing is, we don't blame the Republicans because we're smarter. The average Democrat is smarter than the average Republican. We blame the Democrats. But we don't just blame the Democrats. We blame the specific factions within the Democratic Party, who are the ones passing legislation that make our lives horrible, stealing our money, overtaxing us, right? But the Republicans, they only see black, white, real simple. So it's just the Democrats' fault, right? But back to the guns real quick. So with the guns, the gun industry, they want to sell their guns to South and Central America. Then because those gangs are empowered with weapons of mass destruction, they kill each other on a massive scale. So then the peasant population that has no control of none of this, they live in a dangerous environment. And then they make their way up to a place that's not so dangerous, which is America. The place everybody runs to when their country is going through hard times, or when they can't stand the environment in their country, they come to America. That's what America is built for. That's what we are made. Just bring it, come here. So those very same people, they come here, and then we call them illegal aliens. And on top of that, these are actually the native population of this country. So Republicans has convinced white people to call Mexicans and Native Americans illegal aliens in their own country, right? And there's a fever pitch for all white people, even white people who don't even live on the border. They are afraid of these very same native people that are just simply moving to a safer place within their own homeland, right? That's crazy, right? That would be like saying South Africa. The white people are complaining that these damn Africans are moving into South Africa, into their homeland. Like, that's how crazy it sounds. The Boers getting mad that there are black people living in their city, their state. And they need these black people to get out of here because God gave them South Africa. God and the Constitution gave them South Africa. So we support Europeans getting out of Africa. We support that because we understand that. We understand it, African for the Africans, right? But when it comes to America, there's some black people that's falling for the Republican talking point is that it's not Native America for the Native Americans. Haven't they been embarrassed enough? Haven't they been emasculated enough? Demasculated? I think it's emasculated. I forgot which one it was. Either way, y'all get it. Haven't they been tortured enough? Shouldn't they get something back? A piece of their own pie? But we don't even take that in consideration, even though it's the same thing, right? On the Democratic side, they always say, oh, we're going to do something about guns. They never do anything about guns because, like I said, the people that pay them make money off the guns. So we destroy whole nations in order for the Celestials, the 1%, to make a ton of money. That's literally it. And when we kill each other, they don't care because they don't go to our schools. They don't go to our grocery stores. Their children ain't got to worry about a crazy mentally ill person shooting up the place. They live behind walls, giant walls with gated, with security and police force and all. They got their own rules and everything. It's the truth, right? They all live together. So, but the harsh reality is we still got to deal with the systems in which, we deal with. So unless African Americans become politically aware enough to realize that we have enough power to form our own political bloc, our own political party, right? Even though within our own political party, we'll have subgroups with different ideologies. Even within our own black African American political party, we're going to have conservatives, we're going to have liberals, and we're going to have centrists within our own. But it'll be conservative based off black African conservative values. Something to conserve black culture, African American culture, conserve the Africanness, our identity, to conserve that. Not conserve white culture, white identity, white power. That's what the Republicans are for. They're pan-Europeans. They're pan-Europeans. So if you support the Republican Party, you support pan-Europeanism. That's their goal, right? So until we become smart enough, we have to deal with both the Republicans and the Democrats. If you look at the Democrats, right, they're globalists. They're paying money. They're paying money. And whatever they got to do to get that money, that's what they're going to do. Start wars, overtax. They're going to get that money. You can participate in the Democratic Party as long as you play the game and you're about that money, right? They'll let you have some of your talking points, some of your promises to your constituents, as long as you play the game ultimately. As long as it doesn't affect their money, they'll let you do it. And if you look at politics in the real world, the Democrats and the conservatives, oh shit, I know I forgot something. Let me go back to this point. The difference between when you say Republicans and Democrats, right, and the whole switch thing, there was a time conservatives have always been conservative, right? Period. The white conservatives have always been like this. Once they were the Democrats. That's when the Democratic Party were the racist party. The ones that want to destroy us. The ones that built the Ku Klux Klan. The ones that terrorized Americans were the conservatives of America. The conservatives, white European conservatives of America, are the ones that terrorized black people. What happened, and that's why we were Republicans. The Republicans were the ones who allowed us to participate in the political process and gain power at that time. Then came a point where the conservatives, because they wanted to do something called the Southern Strategy, look it up. This is out here for those who wants to live in the real world. The Southern Strategy, the conservatives switched from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party. The conservatives went over to the Republican Party. Then the black people, we went over to the Democratic Party because it was the Democrats' party that helped us push along civil rights. That gave us all the benefits that we have nowadays. They gave us that leg up that we have now, that hook, all right, that we've been crawling up of, that we've been fighting for. It was the Democratic Party that gave us, so we became Democrats. So we're over here and they're over there. I'll give you a good example. You can have a bad driver in a Lamborghini and a good driver in a Tesla. No, that's not a good comparison, because the Tesla, because it's electric, it comes off the start way faster. All right, a Honda Civic, right? You have a bad driver in a Lamborghini, and you have a good driver in a Honda Civic. The good driver is still going to be a better driver than the guy in the Lamborghini. Just because he's in the vehicle of the Lamborghini doesn't mean he's going to win the race. He may be able to go faster, but he can't cut those turns right? He don't know the science behind driving. He'd probably end up killing himself. He's still a bad driver, right? Take the good driver in the Honda Civic, the car is much lower, but guess what? He's probably going to win the race because he's going to be able to maximize that machine to its full potential. Whereas the guy who's the bad driver, he's in a Lamborghini, but he won't be able to maximize that vehicle in its full potential because he's not that good of a driver, right? So, and that's the same thing with conservatives and the liberal, right? And we shouldn't mix up liberal with far left. Those are two different things, but let the Republicans say it. They're one big blob, right? Anything to the right of conservatives is deemed far left to them, because everybody to the far alt-right of them is just if you're not pan-European, then you're far left, as far as they're concerned. This whole globalism, multicultural stuff, they ain't with none of that. It's white power all day long on the Republican Party. Like I said, that's their ideologies. You know, that the Celestials allow their political class to play, right? You got to give them something. You got to feed them something, right? Let them do something. Let them play, right? So that's how the switch happened. That's why we're mostly Democrats and white people who believe in pan-Europeanism, white power, white supremacy on the Republican side. That's why any black person joining the Republican side is insane, right? They have a death wish. They're suicidal, right? Damn, I know I'm out here wearing a sweater and I'm wiping my face, but you know, it's for a reason. But so that's why, and if you look at right now, look at all of our politicians that have gained power and have put us in position to have more power and more representation in this country that defends us. They're on the Democratic side, whether you like it or not. They're Democrats. The Democrats in the system of the Democratic Party allows black people to get some of their agendas through to protect and uplift black people. And if you really look at it right now, right? Never thought I'd see today. Right now, one of the Celestials, Donald Trump, right, and many of the political cohorts of that Celestial. See, Donald Trump is a low-hanging Celestial. He's always been a low-hanging Celestial, right? Too brash and arrogant and stupid and dumb. He's an idiot. He embarrasses the Celestials. They hate him, right? So he comes down here, right, and he embarrasses and says things he shouldn't say, and he just over on a fuck-up, right? He's about to be held accountable by several African Americans. So in this country in 2023, about to be 2024, there are actual black judges, black attorneys, black lawyers that's going to be holding a white billionaire, multimillionaire, celestial accountable for his criminal actions. Never in the fucking history of America has that ever happened. Never. And just so happens, a good portion of those black people are women. Why do you think Republicans are anti-black women? Because it's those black women, they about their life. They about their life for real. And black men too, because black men about their life too. But black women, they always just been about this. Especially politically, a woman can wield her power politically because it's not a physical arena. It's a different type of arena. So they're able to compete equally when given an opportunity. So that's why black women tend to excel in politics. It's the one arena that they can battle men on equal footing, right? So to speak, equal footing. It's not really equal. It's so to speak equal footing, right? So yeah, just keep that in mind. Just take a picture of that. 2023, there are black men and black women that's about to hold a celestial 1%er billionaire, rich, spoon-fed billionaire. Look, you know who he is? He's the real life. Y'all know, remember Game of Thrones? What was that one son? That piece of shit prince, he became the king. He was just a tyrant, right? Spoon-fed, entitled. That's him. He is a real live character. They make characters in movies about spoiled-ass brats who have rich parents all the time. And we recognize that within media. But yet, in the real world, we don't recognize it when it's happening in real life. That's what Donald Trump is. And he is about to be held accountable. He is about to have his day in court. Now, he'll have his chance to prove his innocence. But I doubt that he'll be successful in that. So, all I'm saying is, guys, the stuff that you got, the Democratic Party or the Independent Party, which is a smaller party, but it's a good place for us to sit ourselves. Those parties are not trying to kill us, black people. They're not trying to disenfranchise our vote. So that's why I don't really campaign for the Democrats so much. I allow the Democrats to do what they're going to do, whether good or bad. And if they do something bad, I'm going to talk about it, which I do. I'll put them, if they do something horrible, I'm going to talk about it. But right now, the Conservative Party, the conservatives are our enemy. The Republican Party, who have eliminated their centrist Republicans, they have eliminated their real their politically conservative Republicans, the ones who truly just believe in small government, small hat conservatives. They never really had any power anyway. It's just a lofty idea. They don't have any power. The liberal Republicans, they don't have any power. The progressive Republicans, they ain't got any power. A lot of those guys have already moved over to the Democratic Party. So the Democratic Party has gotten bigger because there are sub-factions within the Democratic Party that fit with the factions in the Republican Party. Both parties raise your taxes. Both parties raise your taxes. But you would inherently believe it's just the Democrats. But the Republicans raise your taxes too. And neither one of them take back any of those tax cuts that they always complain that each do. You notice that. They complain about it on the political theater, on TV, on their children's TV networks, on their best friends' news networks, entertainment networks. They complain about it on their political theater, but in real life, they don't care because they're making that money. You understand? So, in the real world, right now, the only party that we can use to gain power, to move the lever of justice, is the Democratic Party. Until we become aware enough to say, hey, you know what? Us black people got enough party. We can do our own thing. So until we can get there, we got to deal with one of these parties. Because you can make because if you make, we have plenty of other parties in America. They just get no attention because they don't have billions and billions of dollars to back them. Because we, as a group of people, we don't have enough money to compete with a corporation. When one sponsor of one politician has more money than half the goddamn population of America, how do we compete with that? The only way to compete with politicians is not to believe the political theater. Make their money ineffective. Make their news entertainment networks ineffective by becoming more aware, more intelligent individuals who can see through the bullshit and actually see the facts on the ground. Who actually care about legislation, policies, and what those policies actually do for their constituents. And because that's not entertaining, we don't do it. But until we start to believe that politics is entertaining, and until policy and boring legislation becomes entertaining to us, we will always just fall for the political theater, and we'll just unwillingly fall into the traps that's set for us. So, that's just what it is. But yeah, black people, we need to become more politically aware. Because we have a lot of power, we just don't wield it. And they know we have a lot of power. That's why they will continue to try to fight us, continue to try to destroy us. Because they understand once we know, that's it. It's over. Once we know, it's over. That's why there's a war on woke. Because once we're woke and fully aware of our surroundings and conditions and how to change those things as a group of people on code, they're finished. Anyway, that's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach them. I'm out.